Greetings and salutations, nerds. This is Praying for Superpowers,
A podcast about the deeper meanings, messages, and intricacies hidden within nerd culture.
I'm Trever Sharon,
And I'm Peter Jordahl.
and today we're talking about Crisis on Infinite Earths and what it did to Superman.
Up, up, and away. So, Crisis on Infinite Earths. Let's just start out real quick with something that's canon. As explained in the Man of Steel miniseries, 1986, Superman and all other Kryptonians have an invisible, millimeter-thick, incredibly strong telekinetic barrier surrounding their entire body that can be projected to surround distant objects. It prevents and reduces damage from most sources and is the reason for Superman's invulnerability, which is more like durability. It's also the reason he can lift large objects without letting them fall under their own weight, and the reason he can fly.
So that's not even close to the most ridiculous powers that Superman had. Like, not even close.
Not even close.
I pulled off a few, and I had to stop at a certain point because it was just too much.
Too many.
So, let me know what you think about these. Telescopic vision. We know about that one.
Mm-hmm.
But he also has microscopic vision.
Mm-hmm.
He has what's called super memory.
Super memory.
Where he can go back and interact with his own memories as if he was reliving them.
So kind of like a Sherlock Holmes mind palace type deal almost.
Yep.
Interesting.
Time travel, but not like the spinning around the earth, like I should go back to 1925.
And he just kind of steps through reality.
Yep.
Can he go back and create a better N64 game? No. No, he cannot.
Telepathy. He can sense radio transmissions.
Can he understand why it would not work to push the Earth out of the way of a meteorite hurtling through space?
He can do what he calls super mathematics.
Oh, gosh.
He has telekinesis.
All these words are written in blue and red and gold, by the way. Bright block letters.
He has an indestructible cape, and don't forget the holographic Superman symbol.
Yeah, that projects out.
He has a memory erasing kisses. Let that just sink in for a second.
Charles Xavier, DC Comics, apparently.
Here's a good one. Super eating.
Super eating.
Yeah.
Goku.
Right. And then here's another one. Super friction.
Super friction.
Duplication, which is exactly what it sounds like, except the other one is a inverse color scheme.
Okay, can he get rid of the duplicates?
I don't.
You know?
I didn't read the whole
Let's
thing.
assume yes.
He can shoot miniature Supermen out of his fingers.
That's my favorite one. It makes the most sense.
But that's not even the worst of it. I think, honestly, for me, apart from diamond vision, where he can look at somebody and turn them into diamonds, the worst one is he has a self-titled power called telepathic caller ID. So there's this screen where he gets a call in the morning, and he's like, who could be calling me at this time of the day? My super telepathic caller ID tells me it must be my editor.
All right. So before caller ID was invented, Superman was just... That's smart. That makes sense. Oh, goodness.
So Superman today, I believe, is much better because this is the comprehensive list of his powers, apart from just super strength and all that.
So that's pre-1986. This is now.
Flight, super strength, X-ray vision, invulnerability, speed. He has, I can't read what I wrote, but some sort of vision.
Heat vision?
Yeah, heat vision, freezing breath, omni blast, and just superhuman senses all around. So, like, that's just so much more.
It's way more condensed.
Yeah.
Yeah, tiny Superman flying out of his fingers no more.
Hey,
sorry, DC fans. I know that was a big hit. So,
I would like to see that in like a major motion picture.
I would love if they did that. Just a whole bunch of tiny Henry Cavills, just like.
So
take that, Ben Affleck.
What happened to Superman? To get him to the point where he could shoot miniature selves out of him, but more importantly, what happened to take that all away?
Well, when it started, the phrase was able to leap buildings in a single bound, and that was actually accurate. He couldn't fly. He could jump. And eventually he learned to jump high enough to get so high in the atmosphere where he couldn't die because he was invulnerable, that he would float around the earth and land. And then they decided we might as well just say he can fly because it's easier to write, because falling at the speed of gravity means it takes a long time to get anywhere, even on the speed of flight. So I think basically they started out with no rules. Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster started out with kind of no rules. They were like, here's the basics. And
you know what would be really helpful right now to change this car tire? The ability to shoot miniature Superman out of his fingers.
Is that why he does it?
I think that's that's one of the uses that I saw for
Great.
it.
So, yeah. Basically, there were no rules. There were no rules with Superman.
It was the Wild West of superheroes.
Right. The Boy Scout in blue, he had a badge for every super ability you could think of. But then along came the end of the Silver Age.
Which you might want to define the Silver Age.
1986 is the end of it. That's.
I was really hoping you would know.
The Silver Age of DC Comics is it's considered like their, well, you know, when you talk about the Golden Age versus the Silver Age, it's not their best work, but it's hailed as being really good. There's a reason it came in second place though, right?
They didn't like just switch to like the silver standard.
They didn't. Yeah, they didn't just like stamp it. You know, they're like, you know, we're gonna switch to gold on the covers of these instead of silver, I think.
The writer of Wizard of Oz would have a fit.
Yeah.
No.
How dare
you switch from silver?
Ridiculous.
One thing that I really thought was interesting and kind of studying for this was it's so interesting that if you took Jason Momoa's Aquaman today and compared it to Superman back in 1986, Aquaman's not the weird one. He's not the like dorky one.
He's not. Yeah. I thought you were going to compare Aquaman to Aquaman, and I was going to be like, yeah, the new Aquaman is awesome.
Well, so far we have not really had a Superman that I feel is the Jason Momoa equivalent to old Aquaman for, you know, like,
yeah.
There hasn't been an iteration of Superman that makes me look back on the pre-1986 and see that same contrast of like, wow, look how far you've come. Superman just he's a hard one to nail down as like somebody you really enjoy, and when it happens it's really short. And oftentimes what I've noticed is the moments that are really like Superman are the moments where he is on kryptonite or something.
Yeah, I think the problem with Superman is we no longer admire that in our culture. We don't admire perfection anymore, and we've discussed this before in the Death of Superman episode. And so he's just not an interesting character. I think the best thing DC Comics could have done for itself is have killed off Superman in Batman vs Superman and never brought him back. Yeah. I think it would have been way better for us. Because
I mean, there are several videos on YouTube that I really enjoy. Specifically, there's the death battle between Goku and Superman. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that they do in their second iteration of that conflict is they talk about the whole premise of Superman is that he's perfect and invulnerable and indestructible. The concept of Goku is that he is trying to be perfect. He is working to get better, to meet perfection. And our society would rather have Goku, something pursuing perfection, pursuing greatness, than somebody who is there, because it has an aspect of being boring. There's no challenges really.
Yeah, and there's a few changing.
Right. Yeah. There's a few moments where Superman's been able to let go and topple buildings, but those are few and far between. And with Goku or another hero who is fighting against all odds, sort of like Batman, in a world that by all rights he should be destroyed in, and fighting for what they believe in and pursuing their goals, that's more admirable to us than I'm indestructible except for this little rock and nobody can get me, and aren't I awesome?
Also, I do like his greatest weakness is a rock. It's pretty.
Yeah. Which, okay, side note. Superman's weakness is kryptonite, which is a rock from his home planet, which was destroyed. And so there's so much that you could do story-wise to say, to like maybe he's not vulnerable to the rock itself, but maybe he's refusing to believe that his whole culture and that that basically he's the only existing person, but he's not. Like, I just think, like, in a story, there's so many better ways you could go with that.
It could be really deep. I just think it's interesting with the multitudes of superpowers pre-1986. He only has one weakness still. I figured, you're like, oh, I'm allergic to sharks, something that they didn't do. And he only got more powerful.
Explain why Batman always has shark spray.
Yeah. Or the roller,
like that.
The ice skates on his shoes. So, and then heading back towards why we're so happy for it.
Yeah.
You didn't need the rest of the Justice League.
Yeah.
You didn't need anything. You only needed the romance. You only needed Lois Lane, or Lana, if you're talking about Smallville. Somebody save me from this terrible.
I really liked that show.
He's like 26 at the end of it and can't fly unless he's on red kryptonite. It went on for 6 extra seasons. But there's just kind of some crazy. Superman was so crazy.
Yeah.
And then, I think they fixed that in the TV show Young Justice, which is canon. But they kept him as canon, where I think he's still supremely overpowered.
Oh yeah.
What they've done is they've given him emotional baggage to kind of dumb down his powers. And they bring in the character of Superboy in the TV show Young Justice, who is his clone. But the clone can't fly and has he's kind of wild because he wakes up when he's like 22,
and he's
fully
a far
grown.
better character in my.
He is a far better character, and Superman, he's like, no, he doesn't need me. He needs you. He needs the rest of the team. Superboy doesn't need me, and he's like, you're the only person that can at all even connect with this guy.
Yeah.
And in the second season, when they do begin connecting, you see a lot of growth both in Superman's character and in Superboy's character, which I liked.
And one of the things that I've really enjoyed about the DC universe in like a meta narrative is their attempts to kind of hem in all of the craziness. Because I have this idea that we're in such a hyperbolic world right now where you can't just like something, you have to love it. And you can't actually just love it, you have to really love it. And you can't just really love it, you have to love it more than anything else in the world. Like, we just increase, and we're talking about like a piece of pizza, which, granted, if it's Giordano's, that's fine. Not a sponsor yet.
Pizza is like my spirit animal.
I say pizza is my favorite food, but really it's just a plate for my cheese. Anyways, so we're in such a hyperbolic culture that our superheroes reflect that, because superheroes are supposed to reflect our culture. And what we see is just powers getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until the world gets destroyed and everybody's like, is the universe at peril? Like, that's kind of how it feels. And so what DC does through their crises is they kind of bring everything back in and they say, okay, we're cutting out some of the extra stuff, going back to the basics. And we really saw that in Crisis on Infinite Earths, where we had too many Earths and infinite Earths.
Yeah.
And then went down to, I think, 3 or 1.
Oh, I don't know.
I think we just reduced down to a place. And
a manageable number.
In my opinion, I think that when we come to a point where we can enjoy the basics and speak from a language of, I enjoyed that, rather than this is the best thing in the entire world, we find that things are more enjoyable because it doesn't have to be extreme. It can be taken for what it is.
Yeah.
And we see that with people too. Superman isn't awesome because of the crazy powers that he has.
No, I think it's because of, now that they're giving him faults, that's why he's liked more now in modern culture. And it kind of brings me to a place of your crisis is kind of like a leveling point for you. It gives you a place to look at your faults and kind of change your direction to where it needs to go.
Yeah. Embrace the crisis, nerds. Go forth and conquer.